Hey, what's going on YouTube? And welcome back to all my cloud scholars out there. My name is Kieran Tross. I want to thank you for clicking on this video. So today's video is not going to be a technical one. This video is going to be more of a compass. It's your guide. These words that are going to come out of my mouth are really here to help you out, to get you to the next level and help you get started in your profession in cybersecurity. So one of the reasons why I created this video is because I see a lot of posts on social media. I see videos on YouTube. Everybody's talking about getting into cybersecurity. Everyone's talking about six figures. Everybody has this 3 months no experience. I'm seeing a lot of these fast tracks. And to be honest with you, I'm not gonna say all of them are lies, but I do feel like people are playing with individuals' emotions. It is a very sensitive time. With inflation, you could to the grocery store, buy 5 things, and you come out and spend $100. So everyone wants to get more money, and these fast tracks, I don't fully believe in them. Not to say that all of them are lies. I don't want to blanket that statement to everyone, but it is very difficult to get into cybersecurity in your first job. You get in 6 figures. I've been in the field now for almost 20 years, to be 18 to be exact. I know my face looks young, but I've been in this field for a while, and everyone I've worked with, I haven't met a single person who said, yeah, I just had 3 months experience. It takes some time, and social media makes success look like a microwave. So what I want to do with this video is not to give you any fairy tales and tell you it's all roses. I want to let you know that you have a road ahead of you, but you can do that. This is very possible. I want to list out some tips for you in this video that I believe is going to help you out, right? I feel like it's my fiduciary responsibility to be providing you this information. I'm at a point in my career where I want to give back. And that's the reason why I started this YouTube page called Cloud Scholars. So let's jump into it. The first thing I'm going to do, and I have my notes here so I don't forget. First thing you're going to do is you need to get started. That's the first thing you need to do. You have to get started. I know we've all heard the cliche where there's no perfect time to start, because it's very true. If you're trying to go for a promotion in your job, or you just got promoted, you're like, let me get settled in, or you just moved and you're thinking about, let me get settled in, or whatever the case may be, I would say get started. If this is your 5th video watching about getting into cybersecurity, then this should be your last video to watch. Or if this is your 10th video, this should be your last video to watch. If this is your first video watching and you want to watch 2 other videos, that is perfectly fine. I'm not going to say just listen to what I have to say, right? So for instance, when I'm learning something, I always do the trifecta approach. So what I'll do is I'll read a document, like a Microsoft document. Then I will watch a YouTube video on the same topic. And then I'll probably read a forum or watch another YouTube video. What I want to do is first take the information myself, see exactly what I got from it, how I digested it, and then go with 2 other sources and see what they say about it. So that's kind of how I go about that. So if this is your first video to watch, I would say go ahead, watch 2 other videos. That's fine. But you got to get to a point where you say, okay, I'm only going to watch X amount of videos, and then I'm going to jump in and apply what they said. So that's first tip. Second tip is choose a cloud. There's 3 major clouds. There's AWS, Amazon, there's Azure, Microsoft, there's GCP, which is Google. You need to choose a cloud that you are going to be interested in. I started off with AWS. As you all know, my page is predominantly Azure and Office 365. I've got some stuff that you're doing with domain controllers. I am planning on doing some AWS stuff in the future, but I would say to you, choose a cloud. You can't go wrong with any of the clouds you choose. I would say AWS is more into has a bigger landscape. They're more dominant in the world. Then there's Azure, which is pretty dominant as well. And then there's GCP. So I look at AWS and Azure as bodies of water, as an ocean, and GCP is a lake, but a big lake, and it is growing. So you have more competition within AWS. You have more competition in Azure. And you still have competition in GCP, but I don't find as much people who know about GCP as much. That's just my opinion, right? Out of the 3 clouds. So we got about getting started. We talked about choosing the cloud. Oh, Hands-on experience. You need to have hands-on experience. So as I mentioned before, I've been in IT for quite a bit. When I first started in IT, it was a bit different. So if you wanted to learn something, the company had to purchase it because things are very expensive. So for instance, it was a product called, it was a desktop management tool called Landesk. Very expensive tool that people were using. But the only reason why I learned it was because the company I was working for was starting to use it, but then they did it because it was expensive. So we ended up going with like Dell Case 1000, I think it was called. My whole point is it's easier now than it was back in the day. All you need to do, either cloud, is get a tenant. So you get yourself a tenant and you can start working on it. So what I would say is like Azure, you can get a tenant and they'll give you $200 free credit. So now you have $200 worth that you can use building, setting up VMs, doing public IP addresses, storage accounts, all this other stuff, logic apps. You can do that. And if you spend the $200, then you have to spend your money. What I would suggest you do is when you are getting your hands on experience with it, first thing I would tell you to do is learn to create a budget. So I have a video on Azure on creating a budget because it's so easy to set something up in Azure and forget about it, or any other clouds. You'll set something up and it'll be like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, let's just say, end of the day at work or whatever. And next thing you know, the next morning, you're like, oh crap, my EC2 is still running. EC2 is a virtual machine with AWS. So that is what I would say to do, is definitely get the hands-on experience. And then when you get in there, make sure you get a budget. Now, I've got two pathways, right? So depending if you're coming from a background where you have no IT experience, and if you're coming from a background where you have IT experience and you're trying to get into cybersecurity, my next tip is to start working towards a certification, take a course. So if you choose AWS or you choose GCP or Azure, go on Udemy because they have courses. You can spend about $15 on some of these courses or $25 on these courses and get a course. They show you the stars for the instructor, and it could be like they're like a 4.5, or I would go, anybody who's over a 4 and you see they have like 1,000 reviews, go with them, watch one of their videos and go through it. So I know I teach AWS, I teach Azure, but I teach specific topics. So if any of you are thinking, well, you have a page, why don't you just reference your page? My page, I don't teach any topic from 1 to 10, right? Or A to Z, right? For a specific course. I will teach certain things, like I have a course on privileged identity management, which you'll find in some of these courses, right? Or I have a course on Azure Sentinel, and I have a course on Terraform, or I have a course on Log Analytics Workspace. But I don't take you from, hey, this course is to teach you how to obtain a certification. I think the first time I did it, which I have a course going out right now, is an Okta course, an Okta professional course. I talk about from step 1 to step 20, and I have like 20 videos about it, right? But the reason why I'm mentioning that to you is because if you are getting, let's say, for instance, you're going into Azure and you have no experience, right? You no experience at all. You've never worked in IT. You're just very interested in it. I would say go for an Azure Fundamentals course. So Azure Fundamentals course is very similar to an AWS Cloud Practitioner course, or any of the Google. Google has their basically fundamentals course. All three clouds do the same thing essentially, right? They just have different names, and then also their courses. So if you're talking about groundbreaking level fundamentals, AWS, Azure, GCP have something. Then they have the next one, which is the administrator. So if you have worked in IT and you're trying to get into the cloud and cybersecurity, I would say go to administrator because you have some IT knowledge. I don't feel like you need to go to a fundamentals course. Um, a fundamentals course to me doesn't hold as much weight as an administrator course does. An administrator course definitely holds more weight, but that's just my opinion. If you want to take the certification for a fundamentals course and take the administrator, I can't see how you could go wrong with that. I'm just thinking of when it's time for you to start applying, which we'll talk about that a little bit later. You want to make sure you have certain certifications there because you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money on a degree to get into cybersecurity. You can get into cybersecurity by showcasing what you know, like projects, right? Or if you start creating a YouTube page, or you post on LinkedIn, and I'll get to that in a little bit. And your certifications, because when you first get in and you send your resume in, the first people that see are normally HR. And what are they looking for? They're going to see certifications, and then they're going to pass you on to the IT folks. So just to stay on topic about this tip, because I'm kind of jumping around a little bit. That's why I have my notes. Is I would say definitely you want to make sure that you get some certifications. You want to get a course and you choose a certification. So once again, let's recap that. If you are brand new in IT, I would say start off with a fundamentals course. I know times are hard, so you might not be able to take or pay for the certification, which is fine, but at least do the fundamentals course and make sure you take the administrator course. Now, if you are in IT already, I wouldn't tell you to go to a fundamentals course. I would tell you go straight to an administrative course, because you should have some knowledge about virtual machines. You would have some knowledge about networking, so and so forth. So that's my take on certification. So that's a certification I feel like you should take. And then also, once you get a administrative course, because that's basically saying I know how to administrate Azure or any of the clouds, then take a security course. Because remember, you're trying to get into cybersecurity, so you want to have some type of security in your resume. So if you have that title as a at AWS specialty security, right? I think that's what it is. I got that certification a couple years back. I think that that is a really good course for you to take. Or if you're in Azure Security Certified Engineer, I think it's AZ500. I have that certification as well. I just can't remember the name certification. So I would definitely say get at least an administrator and a security certification. I think that you would be good to go. And then I'm going to go to my next step is make sure you have a LinkedIn account. So some of you may be like, who doesn't have a LinkedIn account? There are a lot of folks that do not have LinkedIn accounts. I was speaking to a friend the other day. He's already in IT, but he just doesn't have a LinkedIn account. You know, he's a bit of an introvert, like a lot of IT folks are, and he didn't have one. So if you're a LinkedIn is a very powerful tool. It's going to help you get a job, and it's also going to help you stay in IT and learn. Because remember, at the end of the day, what I'm talking to you about here is not just about getting into IT. I want to give you the principles to stay in IT. You need to embody these characteristics. So get a LinkedIn account, and you need to start following folks. You might be like, well, if I'm new on LinkedIn, I don't know anybody. How am I going to start following folks? I'm pretty sure there's individuals you used to work with. You can look their name up and then follow them. You know, what you want to do if you're in a field that isn't IT related, then you're like, okay, well, why am I following them if they're not doing anything IT? You can follow me, right? You look up Kieran Tross, you put it on LinkedIn, and I'm more than happy to accept your invitation. Just say, send me a message. Hey, I saw your video. I thought it was really good. I'm putting what you said into action. I'm following you. And when you follow me, guess what's going to happen? When you follow me, when I post, you're going to see it. When I repost, you're going to see it. When I like something, you're going to see it. So that is really good for you to start following different individuals who are in the space, who are very active. So I would look for folks to follow, like people from Microsoft, AWS, anybody who works for any of the three clouds if you're going into one of those clouds. And to be honest with you, I would follow anybody who has like a cloud in their title. So product managers in Microsoft, I follow them because they tend to provide you information about new technology that's coming out. And they'll put a post and they'll put a little link in their post and you can learn about it. Even if it's in beta, it's good to learn about it and be aware of it, because when it's in beta, they're still testing out the kinks about it, but you get to test it out and you really get to understand the functionality before it goes out. So I would do like product managers, as I mentioned before, cloud, anybody else cloud in the name, architect. And as I said before, you can follow me. So the next tip I'm going to give you is you need to be disciplined and consistent. So I know I started this video talking about other individuals who are posting things about 3 months and you'll get into IT. I want you to know that there are going to be some trials and tribulations ahead of you, right? It's not easy getting in, but it's worthwhile. So for instance, I am a senior cloud security consultant. Before I was a senior cloud security consultant, I was a cloud solutions architect. Before I was a cloud solutions architect, I was an identity access management consultant. All three of these roles are in cloud, and all three of these roles are essentially cybersecurity. And before that, I was an IT director. And before IT director, I was an information technology manager. So I was in IT for quite a bit. Well, not IT, but in cybersecurity, because the IT manager, you're still doing things to manage identities and things of that nature. But I wasn't a cloud specific role. It took me 4 years to get into the cloud and to be a cloud specific IT cybersecurity role, right? And the reason why for me, my story is a little bit different. Some individuals are getting faster. I'm not gonna tell you it's gonna take you 4 years. It was different for me because I was already an IT director. And when I was applying for jobs, I was hearing, oh, you're an IT director, you're not hands-on, because everybody thinks the IT director is just managing their team and being, hands off and just delegating work. I worked in healthcare and a very toxic company, right? I hated it there. And what I would say to you is when I was going for jobs, I started going for certifications. I got my AWS certifications. That was the first cloud I really got to know. As an IT director, I would start off in the morning and take meetings. By 10 o'clock, I would be at a site doing some type of troubleshooting because the site probably went down. I had to do something with Cisco Meraki, or a switch went down, or I was fixing something, or waiting for this or service provider to come in, Verizon, whoever was giving us the internet. Once that was fixed, by 11 o'clock, I was back on more meetings. By 12 o'clock, I was probably doing a site assessment because I was, looking at new sites that we were going to bring medical practice in. So I had to see where we were putting the cables, where I was going to keep my server racks at, what area I was going to put my access points. And then I would go back and tell my team, okay, this is where things are going to go. This is where you guys need to put it there. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd probably be back at a site switching out a PC. By 3:30, I was probably dealing with some type of mess from the help desk because I was overseeing the help desk as well. So here I am dealing with help desk. Here I am doing PC technician work. I'm doing network work. I'm doing Office 365 as well, whether it's e-discovery, data retentions, DLP, doesn't really matter. I was in Office 365. I was doing a lot of different things and also being a director at the same time. So when my problem was, I was going into these jobs, talking to them, they saw IT director, people didn't see it, right? And I'm telling you this story because I need to talk to you about applying for roles and resumes and how your resume is going to be received. So I would go in, talk to individuals, and they say, we like your resume, but you don't have a lot of cloud experience. And then I'm talking to them about it. I'm like, yeah, I do 365, I do this. And they're like, yeah, but you still haven't done a landing zone. You haven't done all this stuff. And they're like, well, you're not really technical. That was another thing I would get. I'm like, well, my resume has all this technical stuff, but they weren't really reading it. So that was what's going on with me. And then plus it was the pay. So I was already over 6 figures, and I was trying to get these jobs, but they were like, yeah, we're not gonna give you that job, even though it was closer to my salary. We want to give you this job because it's more lower level into the cloud. And it was like, I don't know, some of them were like 80, 90,000 or whatever. And I was just too much of a pay like drop for me. So I had to, go through the motions and stuff like that. I finally was able to get an opportunity that worked out for me, that was a little bit more aligned to what I was doing, but it necessarily was a cloud, and I was able to just go on with that. So the reason why I'm saying that is because you're going to have trials and tribulations ahead of you. It's not going to be easy, and I had a lot I had to go through. So just stay disciplined and consistent. I'm telling you right now, it may seem like, when you're working and you're studying every day. I always tell people study for an hour a day. Put down social media, don't watch Netflix, don't go on Hulu or whatever you're on. Put the phone down and just zone out for an hour a day. I guarantee that hour a day will turn into an hour and a half, and then probably 2 hours you can get out. And you try to do that for 5 days a week. Try to stay consistent with this, because what I'm giving you is a plan for 6 months to a year and a half. And some of you might be like, oh my gosh, that's a long time. And it really depends how much time you put into it, because the more time you put into it, the faster you're going to get to your goal. And things are difficult. Like, I have times where I'm not feeling motivated to do anything all the time, but then I think about my wife, my kids, and things of that nature, and it helps me go ahead. And then, I have other things that kind of get me motivated. Like, for instance, when I come to my office, I have this sign here from Muhammad Ali, and it says, I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit, suffer now, and live the rest of your life as a champion. Now, look at Muhammad Ali, great boxer, one of the greatest ever to do it. And he didn't like to train. I never knew that. He did not like to train, but he still did it anyway. Even if you don't feel like doing it, you have to do it. So My video here is to make sure that you understand what you're getting into and lets you also know that you are capable of doing it. So the next step that I have is cybersecurity webinars. You want to start doing anything similar to those, even if you're jumping on those webinars, you don't know what they're talking about. If they're talking about terms like zero trust, if they're talking about managing identities, if they're talking about privileged identity management, privileged access management, which most people would say, you want to jump on these webinars. You could go to Microsoft. They have different webinars. You could find out about them. Once you start going on LinkedIn, you'll see people posting about webinars. Even if you do not know what they're talking about, you could jump on and just listen in. It will start to make sense. So if you're on a webinar for your first time, you're listening in, you hear some terms, write them down, Google it. You go on another webinar, write them down, Google it. After a while, things will start piecing together and you'll start saying, oh yeah, I heard that zero trust. Oh, I heard that privileged access identity management. Oh, I heard that. You'll hear about these things and you'll start making more sense to you. So I definitely believe that doing cybersecurity webinars will definitely help you out. So finally, the last thing is applying for roles. So what I'm going to say is the other steps I mentioned, the LinkedIn steps and also learning. When you're on LinkedIn, what you want to do is when you're learning, start posting about what you're learning. It will help you out. So by the time you have those two certifications, or you have the one certification, if you feel like you're good enough for that, right? Remember, I said administrator and a security certification. So by the time you have that, you should still be posting, right? And I forgot to mention that before. You want to post because it's going to attract more people. They're going to see that you're involved. People will start liking it. I'll like it. And once you start seeing that, people are going to say, oh, okay, you're going to start getting followers. Because when you apply for roles, what they're going to do is HR is going to go and look at your profile on LinkedIn, right? If you don't have one, they're going to probably look, okay, this person has a LinkedIn. But they're going to start looking at your profile and they're going to say, oh, this person is very active. And that's one of the reasons why you want to do it, because they're going to say, okay, you're very involved. I've had recruiters say to me, oh, I see that you're very active in the field. Well, one, I'm on LinkedIn. I post about different things. I post about my courses on LinkedIn as well. Plus, I have a YouTube page. So that is going to set you apart from other individuals. I'm not telling you have to have a YouTube page. I just do it because I like to do it. But if I have one candidate here and another candidate here, and this candidate, they both, that's happened before. I've been interviewing people before, and I'm like, oh, okay, both of these candidates are very similar, but this one has the page. They're showing they're more passionate. I'm going to go with this one because they seem like they're more passionate. So that's one thing I'll tell you about. And when you're ready to apply for roles, I'm urging you to get the certifications, because you could get into cybersecurity without having a degree. A lot of jobs will still say degree, but then there are jobs who don't. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've been on over 5,000 interviews, a ton of interviews, right? Well, not probably over 5,000, but I've applied for over 5,000 jobs, definitely. And I've gotten ghosted a lot too. And I would tell you, when it comes to going on interviews and interviews I've done and hosted, what I would tell you is not once have I looked at somebody's resume. I mean, I'll see that they have a degree, but I won't talk to them about the school they're at. I'll ask them about the certification, and then I'll start asking them technical questions. So this is one of the reasons why you can still get into cybersecurity without a degree, in my opinion, because you're going to be asked about what you know and what you've done. And you want to be able to talk about it. Even if it's in your lab, you can have a conversation. I've had discussions with clients, and I haven't done the specific thing that they're talking about. I've only done it in a lab environment. But on a lab environment, you have the basics of what you need to do, and then you apply it to a whole environment. You're not always going to know, right? You're going to be in uncomfortable situations in cybersecurity. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And if you do something in a lab, I'm telling you right now, you get a real base understanding of it, you can go ahead and you can apply it to production. So you want to look at things like that. So when it comes to applying for roles, you want to make sure that your resume is tight. You have I like to do my certifications on the top of my resume. And the reason why I like to do that is because people don't read. And I've been on tons of interviews where people will ask me questions and say, well, you don't know this. And I'm like, well, yeah, if you read down in my resume, I actually literally talk about infrastructure as code. And they're like, oh, I didn't see that. Well, you didn't really read it too. So just know that you're going to get into that, and then also be prepared to be ghosted, be prepared to have a ton of interviews. So I want to tell you another story. I was going for a role, and that's when I was working as IT director, and I was trying to get out of this company. I couldn't stand it. They were extremely toxic. And I was going for this role, and I went through 8 interviews. 8 interviews. And I got the role, and I'm going to say that in quotes. So I went through the interviews, and I remember, I think I was on interview number 5. And the guy was like, who I was interviewing with, he goes, what number interview is this for you? And I laughed because I'm like, okay, this is something that they all go through, I guess. And he literally said that he's just like, oh man, I saw him, I think I was on number like 5 or 6. He's like, oh gosh, this place, they just keep giving us so much interviews. He's like, I went through it too. And I got the role, right? So HR was like, we liked you, we thought you were great, this, that, a third, So after I got off with them, I'm like, yes, but I'm still waiting for my offer letter. And I always heard that wait for your offer letter, you never know what can happen. So I typed up my resignation letter. I'm ready to hit send. I'm like, I'm gonna hit send so much force because I'm ready to get out of here. Typed it up, had it in my drafts. I'm just like looking at it. I'm reading it over. I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to send this. And after a week, I'm like, okay, reach out to HR. Hey, how's it going? She's like, yeah, we're just working out some stuff with the budget. I'm going to get back to you, waiting for some, more approvals. I'm like, all right, cool. After the second week, message, hey, it's following up. Hey, sorry we're taking so long. Just working out some stuff. We still want you. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm like, I'm at work. I'm just thinking to myself as I'm at work. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to leave y'all. Y'all have no idea. I had no idea. So after the third week, I'm like, what's going on here? So they finally come back and say the CFO doesn't feel comfortable paying somebody that salary. So I'm in like the New York, New Jersey area, and the job was in Texas. And they wanted to pay lower, even though they told me that they were going to pay the number I wanted. And I was so tight. I was upset. I'm like, come on, bro. I waited, and basically I missed a month of searching for a job because I thought I had that job. So I'm telling you all this is because, as I mentioned earlier in this video, and I feel like I mentioned like twice already, I want to stress that you are going to have some bumps in your road to getting into cybersecurity. I don't want to make it look like it's like a straight path and there's no rocky areas or anything like that. I want you to realize that it is going to have some difficult moments and some trying moments, but you need to be mentally tough and you need to be prepared for this because you can do it. I went through some stuff. I want to highlight some of the stuff that I went through that didn't go right for me, because sometimes people look at me and they say, oh, okay, well, you got it all together. And it's like, no, I went through some trials and tribulations, and you are too, but you are capable of doing that. You are able to do it. So when you get those negative thoughts telling you that you can't do it, just know that that is from the evil one, that God gives us all a spirit of being able to do things, right? You don't get fear from God, right? So I really and truly believe that. So that's one of the reasons why I want to, make this video and just make sure I'm giving you some type of motivation and let you know what you're going to run into when you're looking for a role within the cybersecurity field. So let's go through the steps again. We talked about getting started, talked about choosing the cloud. We talked about getting hands-on experience, whether cloud you're going through. We talked about certifications, LinkedIn, must get your LinkedIn, staying disciplined and consistent, being ready for the rocky road ahead. Also talked about cybersecurity webinars and applying for the roles. You can definitely do it. So I want to thank you all for watching this video. I really hope that this really helped you out. What I do want to do is leave you with a word of motivation. And the word is, the fastest way to acquire self-confidence is to do the thing you've been avoiding. And if you've been avoiding to get into the cybersecurity, know that you can do it and you're able to do it. I am rooting for you, and you have people in your life that love you and want you to do it, especially if you have kids. You want to provide a better family. You want to have some more time with them so that we can work remotely. This is definitely the career for you. So if you haven't done so already, please smash that like or subscribe button, and also let me know what your comments are if you're thinking anything about this video. Also, one more thing, I mentioned earlier about individuals trying, I feel like they're playing on people's roles about, this whole getting into cybersecurity quick, all this other stuff. I don't feel like everybody does that. There are individuals, I do more technical videos, right? This is like a video that I just felt prompted to do. But there are individuals out there that help people get into cybersecurity. There's one called Level Up in Tech. I think the guy's name is Broadus. I'm not affiliated with Level Up in Tech. I'm not getting paid by Level Up in Tech. I don't even really know the guy like that. But I'm on LinkedIn a lot, and I've seen at least 5 people, right? I want to say at least, that went through the program and Level Up in Tech and was able to get a job. So I feel like they know what they're doing, right? I'm not saying everybody doesn't know what they're doing. I would be lying if I said that. If you're watching this video and you got into cybersecurity and you went through Level Up in Tech, or you went through another service that provides people coaching or something like that to get into cybersecurity, leave it in the comment so we can help each other out. Because what I created Cloud Scholars is not only just to teach and give back, but also to create a community. I don't know all the answers. I would never act like I know the answers. I can learn from you. You can post something. I've made videos from people who asked me a question. I'm like, oh, that was a good one. I never thought about that, and I made a video. So you help me out as well. Like, this isn't like me up here and you're here. No, I don't think like that. Because at the end of the day, we all got to go to the same place, right? You all got to go speak to the man above about the life you lived. So for that reason, I'm saying to you, I want to be here to help. I want to also give you a specific group that I feel like is doing a really good job out there. And hopefully you can reach out to them and say, hey, I saw a video was talking about you, and you could go your way, or you don't have to mention this video either. It's up to you. But once again, my name is Kieran Tross. I want to thank you for watching this video. Here at Cloud Scholars, my goal is to get you from scholar to consultant, and of course, consultant to expert. Thank you, and God bless.